All right, Facebook Live. Here we are again. Rhythmia Life Advancement Center, Guanacaste, Costa Rica. R. Christian Minson here, reminding you that if you are tuning in to the recording, jump ahead about 4 to 5 minutes. That's where the content starts. Currently, we're just getting started, trying to bring on some folks. There's our first person joining on, too. As you join on, say hello in the chat bar. Tell me where you're from, what's going on in your neighborhood, and so I can greet you accordingly. Just gonna start here. Linda Thomas is on. Hey, Linda. Denise, how are you doing? Today is a nice warm day in Costa Rica. Regina Schultz from California, beautiful. Wayne, saying hi, Christian. Hi, Wayne, how you doing? And just getting started here. Today the topic's going to be old belief versus new age. So I'm excited to share some information around that. Linda saying from Southern Utah, of course. Good to have you on as always. Regina, be there later in April. Beautiful. Make sure you reach out and say hi. Denise from Farmington, Missouri. Joelle, hey there, and welcome. So we got some people joining on. We're just going to wait a few minutes till we get, about 4 minutes in. Just say hi. Get your fingers wet by giving me some likes and some hearts and all that kind of stuff. I'll say while I'm waiting, I just got back from a Greg Braden retreat. Greg Braden Sell the Soul in New Mexico, a 4-day event. I was commissioned to bring the breathwork there. Greg does an amazing piece where he talks about the chemistry of emotions, the biology of emotional release. And then after that, we go right into the experiential factor there, the breath work. And that's why he's brought it on. I've done it now with him in 3 different events, and hopefully that continues into the future. Really powerful week. We breathed 265 people, which was a record. My time here at Rhythmia has prepared me for all of that. Regularly breathing about 50 to 80 people per week, but this definitely was an up-leveling of that. Fortunately, we don't have to do that many every week here at Rhythmia, though it went amazingly smooth. It was a fantastic experience for all. Greg really loved it. All right, some Autumn from Arizona, Gail from California, Laguna Beach, Shauna from Missouri. Joel was there in July, and your son's right there. Who's your son, Joel? Greg, Christian from Monks, Minnesota, huh? Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's funny. He'll be in the breathwork class tonight. Good. Denise, beautiful. All right, so here we go. I think we're at the top of the hour. Officially welcome. My name is R. Christian Minson, Director of the Breathwork Program here at Rhythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. Speaker, author, monk, former monk for 10 years. I am no longer a monk, but have that background. Internet coach and catalyst for your evolution and awakening. So here we are today talking about old beliefs versus new age. And really this is about the evolution and development of our belief systems, all right? We're not really talking about, I'm not here to debunk any particular belief system or old religious beliefs or anything like that. It's a matter of, as I said, development of our belief systems and our evolution in our consciousness and our thinking. So what is belief? I looked it up online, and basically it said, belief is a state of mind in which a person thinks something to be the case regardless of empirical evidence to prove that something is the case with factual certainty. So belief means that we believe it whether the facts are there or not to support it. That both serves us and can get us into trouble at times. This is where science versus religion has always come into the game, because science being empirically based, trying to prove everything, but being very slow in the process. So I've always said, just because science hasn't proved it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? There's many things that exist right now that science hasn't quite figured out, how it exists or why it exists. At the same time, sometimes it's good to believe something even though it hasn't been proven empirically. But at the same time, the more evidence, the more we can gain our own personal evidence in something, the better. So our belief, the way I put it, is really our operating system. The way that our being filters the information that comes to us. So like an operating system on your computer, if it's faulty, the results you're going to get are faulty. The information that gets spit out, the conclusions that are made, will not necessarily be in alignment with truth or reality or whatever. So we really want to learn how to make our operating system the best one it can be. Some of the differences really between the old and the new. The old being, the old being a more dogmatic approach. So I'm just sweeping with broad strokes here. Once again, not trying to pinpoint any particular belief system and say anybody is wrong or bad, but just to say, when we believe dogmatically, that basically means that somebody has told you something that usually hasn't been proven, and then you're asked to believe it blindly. And if you do believe it blindly and then you impose that on others, that becomes a dogma. That's really, it can be a very detrimental way to believe. Versus dogma, the newer age believing would be scientific inquiry, right? This is, some good examples here are, when we believe the world was flat. At one time, the world has been round, but at one time, everybody, the mass public, believed it was flat, right? This was a dogmatic belief. Everybody was forced to believe it, and told that this is just the way it was without there being any empirical evidence. Well, so explorers went and discovered that the world indeed was round. Another thing that we believed back when was that the universe moved around the earth. The earth was central to the universe, so everything moved around the earth. We now know today that the earth revolves around the sun, and the sun has a partner sun, that they're in a revolution, and the whole solar system revolves. So this all was brought about by scientific inquiry, that we started to say, all right, here's a hypothesis, here's what I think is right, let's try to test it and see. So this can really play out even in our spiritual beliefs today. In my spiritual path, I'm part of the Self-Realization Fellowship, the organization started by Paramahansa Yogananda many years ago, and he really was a proponent of the science of religion. And what he meant by that was the masters of India spent a lot of time exploring techniques of meditation, techniques of consciousness elevation, till they started to develop a consistency here. And that's really how something becomes scientifically proven, right, or scientifically viable, is that after that you get the same result, you put the same variables together, and you can get the same result. So there's nothing that says religion can't be scientific. that faith can't be scientific, or the practices of faith. So whether that's prayer, whether that's meditation, whether that's breath work, whatever you have, or even plant medicines, if you can get the same results with the same actions, that starts to prove the point. That starts to prove the efficacy of that belief system. And this is really where I'm headed when I talk about New Age belief versus old belief. The old way is really to be closed-minded, to have blind faith, meaning to believe in something that's been passed on to you because it was believed by somebody that's passed on to them. There's an old story about at Thanksgiving, woman and her mother are baking a turkey. Now, I'm vegetarian, so I do not condone this story, but for the purpose of illustration, they're baking this turkey for Thanksgiving, and the mother says, "Now you cut the first third of the turkey off and dispose of it." And the girl, they put the turkey in the pan, and there's lots of space, and the girl wonders, "Well, Mom, why do we do that?" Mom says, "Well, that's because that's how your grandma taught me to do it." And so grandma happens to be at Thanksgiving, so they said, well, let's ask her why this is. So the daughter goes over to the grandmother and says, "Grandma, we just cut off the third of the turkey, and put it in the oven because Mom said that's the way it was always done in our family. Why was that?" And the grandma says, "Well, dear, because that's how great grandma did it." Fortunately, in this story, great grandma is still alive, and she's sitting around drinking her juice with some of the family members. So they go to great grandma and they say, "Great grandma, why is it so important to cut the first third off the turkey before we bake it at Thanksgiving time?" And great grandma says, "Well, back in the day, our pan wasn't big enough to fit the whole turkey." So there you go. So this is an example of a belief or a practice even that maybe was practiced for a purpose way back when, but it gets passed on in a convoluted way, right? The practice becomes more important than the reason why. And this is probably the biggest point I'm trying to make here today, is really to seek the reason why you're believing in anything in particular. In this case, back in great grandma's time, the pan was too big or too small. The oven was too small. So they had to cut the third off the turkey and it would fit. Then they could actually have Thanksgiving dinner. But as generations went on, the pans got bigger, the ovens got bigger, but they were still cutting the third off the turkey. All right, so this is an example of blindly following a belief because and not inquiring as to why you're following it. So this is the closed-minded, or the blind faith version, the old way, versus an open-minded exploration of why, a questioning. It's important to question. It's important to always understand, as to the best of your ability, what's going on. Seen bumper stickers, question authority, question everything. That's because, like the turkey in the pan example, sometimes we just do stuff unquestioningly that no longer has a place in how we're operating these days. And good, I guess I'm getting a few likes and hearts for that. Just tune in, Gord, Karen, digging the grandma voice. Thanks, Catherine. My acting career was short-lived and basically was probably third grade, and that was it. So, being open-minded, being exploratory, being scientific about your approach to your belief, whether it's belief in physical reality, belief in your intellectual pursuits, belief in your spirituality, which is really probably the topic I'm really talking about more here, is our spirit, our beliefs in what was really going to give us the most evolution, what's going to bring us the most happiness out of life. And this is a pursuit that we can pursue scientifically and with an open mind, or we can pursue with that more closed-minded, dogmatic approach. Another old belief versus new age is believing versus living it. The old way, maybe just to believe, again, blindly believing, but not really trying it out. It's taking it at face value, saying this is what I was taught, so this is the way it is, versus going ahead and living it. Like, say, all right, this is the belief. Let's put it to the test and see how it works. And again, if it works, fine, great, keep working with it. If it doesn't, though, then don't just say, oh, well, I guess my results were faulty because this is the belief. Start to experiment again and again until you see that the results are either positive or they're not supportive of what that belief is supposed to be bringing you. Shauna, hey, Christian, hey, Shauna. Another example, religion being our yoke versus spirituality being our freedom. So, old way belief, oftentimes religion was really that chain around our neck, right? It was like we're sinners. We're so blessed to have something that can tell us how bad we are, and only by certain grace are we ever going to find our way out of this mess. Versus, again, seeing spirituality as our ticket to freedom. That the purpose of life being to evolve, to continually grow better and greater, and seeing that in that our belief system supports us becoming better and greater, which gives us ultimately more freedom as we become higher on the ladder, so to speak. The real crux there is, with more freedom, obviously comes more responsibility to wield that freedom properly. And that, again, is where some of us get off. We start getting more and more freedom and then start behaving out of alignment with what's truly in our best interest when we have that freedom. So, and then another difference being dominion over the earth, being versus being in harmony with the earth. And we're really, I think, at a critical juncture here as we have this debate about global climate change and different things going on that that we've felt for so many years that we could pillage and rape the earth essentially without consent. And that's really, what rape is, right? It's a violation without consent. And this is what we've been doing to the earth for years, feeling that we have dominion over it, that we are the masters. And so what we say goes. Whatever we can do, we will do. Versus really recognizing that we are part of the earth. The earth is part of us. And what we do to the earth, we're doing to ourselves. And if we're destroying the balance on earth, that's coming back and affecting our balance. And I feel like we're seeing this more and more these days. Our weather patterns, we've always had tornadoes, we've always had hurricanes, we've always had earthquakes and fires, but it seems like these patterns are growing in their severity. Like they come on strong. We have these superstorms or these odd patterns that take things from 70 degrees all the way down to minus 70 in the course of 24 hours or things like that. And so this is just something to be aware of, again, that in the new age of believing, that to recognize how interconnected everything is, and that we have a responsibility not only because everything else is a part of us, but because if you want to save your own skin, you are a part of everything that you do to this planet. The effects will rebound and affect us as a human race and us as individuals. We do the same to animals. That's true, Catherine. Thanks for that. Rebecca, I was at Greg Braden conference too. Love the breath sessions. Truly transformational. Keep up the good work. Well, thanks, Rebecca, and thanks for joining on today. So how do we make this shift? How do we start believing in a higher age manner, I'd like to say. The first, I mentioned it earlier, but start questioning beliefs. I did this, when I mentioned I was a monk. I was a monk for 10 years of my life. It's as you can imagine, that's a very high level endeavor. I really was striving to embody the highest that our life has, a pursuit of our own self-realization. Now, in that process, I was asked to believe a lot of things that I didn't necessarily test out, but that was part of my life, was to test these beliefs for myself. But when I left the monastic order, I spent a period of about a year and a half afterwards questioning all my beliefs. So, for instance, one of those beliefs was that I was vegetarian. The order was vegetarian. Now, I was vegetarian before I joined the monastic order, but even there, I questioned that. And for a while, I allowed myself to eat meat, to eat other things, to really see, was I doing this because I was told to? Was I doing this because it was something that was imposed upon me and I just blindly accepted it? Or was I doing this because I truly felt it was right? And I did this across the board with all my beliefs. And with the vegetarian one, eventually I came to the point one day, I just didn't want meat again. And I was like, this is my belief. This is really at the core of me. And so I accept this way of lifestyle because it's my choice, not because it was overlaid on me. Some things I threw away, some things I kept like that. But this is the first point, to question your beliefs, to really, and one of the ways we do that is to introspect about our lives. And I've talked about this in the 5 Habits of Highly Spiritual People, one of my past Facebook Lives. You can go back and check that out, because introspection and study are 2 ways to question our beliefs, and they're 2 of the 5 habits of highly spiritual people. Introspection, to look at what you did during the day and see what the results were. Did it bring you more happiness? Did it bring you more aggravation? Whatever it was, note what it brought you and then make a plan accordingly. Do you want more happiness, or does staying the course seem to be the best thing? Versus study. Again, study is something where you're constantly bringing new information into the equation. So you're learning new things. In my case, in the ashram, I studied about my spiritual path and my spiritual beliefs. If you want to be in business and you're practicing certain business practices based on different beliefs, maybe you want to study the masters of business, people who have made it to the top. Steve Jobs, what's his name, the Microsoft guy, and Warren Buffett, and the standard people who really have made success. You're going to learn something by studying, and it might change your belief after you've studied this information, or introspecting on your own path and where you're getting results and where you're not. Another way to up-level our beliefs is to make belief part of your life. And what I mean by that is that we are constantly working with our beliefs. We don't just have them and then put them in the background of your life and then go forward, and then you may act in alignment with them or out of alignment because your beliefs are really in the closet. Bring them out. Actively be with them. Actively pursue them. To this degree, breath work, the techniques of conscious breathing, which I've explained in various Facebook Lives here, that breath work can be a tool for daily maintenance on this to this degree. Breath work can really help you understand what your beliefs truly are, where you're out of alignment with them, where you're in alignment with them, and how you're truly feeling, what the results are. And the knee visit gave me Bill Gates. Bill Gates is the Microsoft guy. Thanks. A little bit of a brain shutdown there for me. Some of the shortcuts, we're talking about breath work, as a way for daily maintenance. And it segues into shortcuts for expanding our beliefs. And breath work is one of those. To do breath work on a regular basis helps you to see clearly. It clears old energy that often is the root of old habits. When we, if we've held on to a belief that the world is scary, then we operate in the world like it's scary, and we don't go down certain paths, or we don't relate with certain people that might actually be very good for us. So by practicing breath work, we start to dredge up these old beliefs and let that energy go. We bring in new energy that invites us to consider new habits and inspiration for a new direction in life. What's going to truly bring us happiness and truly bring us evolution of our consciousness and our life. Meditation is, I'd say, probably the top of the heap as far as techniques for expanding our belief and the quality of our belief. This is the golden road to our own self-realization. But it's a longer path. It's a day in and day out path. And that's why Rythmia exists, because Rythmia's got the two cornerstones of Rythmia are really two shortcuts to expanding our belief systems. And that we've already talked about breath work. And the other one to talk about is plant medicine. These open you up in a pretty quick way. So you get the download immediately. The liability there is that then you've got to put that information into practice and prove it out over time. So this is where you might get the belief, the information on what will truly bring you happiness before you've actually trod that path. And so in some ways you have to believe it while you're testing it out. And of course, as you test it out, if it's not going in the right direction, you modify that information, you modify that belief. And if you're introspecting and studying along the way, practicing your breath work or meditation, it's going to guide you. It's going to keep you on the right path. Oh, let's see. Andrea Berry, hey. Hi, you're so much further in your journey than when I went. You'll get so much out of it. Oh, that you're talking Gord there. Are you currently a member of SRF? Yes, Sam, I am. Best support while you're there. Thanks. All right, so a little bit of cross chatter there. I don't need to respond to that. And this really gets into Rythmia, a little cross chatter of coming to Rythmia. I would say, as far as expanding your belief system, Rythmia is one of the best places to go, because we boast a 94% miracle rate currently. And why is this? Because Jerry Powell is a guy who believes in numbers. Jerry Powell, our CEO, he believes in the power of numbers, in mathematics. And this is, mathematics in some ways is considered the language of the universe. We figure out a lot of how the universe operates through mathematical equations. Why is this so important? It gets back into the whole scientific approach to our belief. There's nothing that says we have to believe blindly, but even if we're talking about our evolution, that we can get scientific data, which means the data that continually produces the same results. In other words, we do something, we analyze the data and see if the result is the same. If it's the same, we do it again and see that the result is the same. So Jerry here has put together, he's been data driven in every business he's ever been in, but most businesses haven't been spiritually oriented. Let me just check in here. This business is really the business of your soul, business of your happiness, business of your heart, your soul, and ultimately your evolution. And yet, he's taking all the elements, and we're getting more and more using the technologies available to us to determine what path, what course of action, what course of the classes you have to take, the ceremonies you have to attend, the mindsets that you take along the way, everything that's possible to codify, we're doing that and producing this amazing batch of data, which is helping us hone the program to boost that miracle rate. I mean, seriously, where else in the world do you know people can report that whatever they're doing is 94% effective? That people come and 94% of them who leave get what they came for. It's rare out there unless somebody has delivered that, has created that experience, has collected enough data in order to say this path is the most likely path for you to get what you came for. And so this is exactly what Rythmia is all about. It's really the safest, the easiest, and the most comfortable way to experience plant medicine, especially if you're doing it for the first time, but also the safest, easiest, most comfortable way to awaken yourself to what's truly in your consciousness, what's truly, what's true to your belief system. And so I want you to get here and try to work that out for yourself. Now let's see. That's what happened to me before I went. Excuse me. All right, Andrea and Gord are talking. So, Carlise, doesn't all of these practices boost, help inflammation of the ego for some people? It can, and that's one reason why I recommend introspection and study. Because if you're truly introspecting each day, you're getting real with yourself, and you're saying, oh, I've gone down this path, but I realize that I'm just propping up my ego rather than helping me get a better handle on life and being more humble. So it can boost the inflation of ego for some people, but you have to you have to work the program, work it with honest authenticity and integrity. Meditation is the key. I'm a new person compared to the years ago, and I'll be going back. Yeah, thanks, Andrea. Jessica, I miss you all. Hoping to come back for a third time because for most it will lead to ego death, Carlos. So yeah, Andrea's talking to Carlise about these practices inflating the ego for some people, and yes, more often than not, especially coming here to Rythmia, it will result in ego death. I wouldn't really say ego death, but ego rebirth, so that we die to our old ways of being and we reharmonize with a new way. For some, anything would be for feeding their broken ego. Yeah. George, Chana, it's unreal, blah, blah, blah. For ego is an illusion. How can illusion die if it wasn't real in the first place? Ego is, for this conversation, I'm going to not get into it too deeply, but say, Carlise, look up in the archives. I do a Facebook Live that addresses your questions about ego very succinctly. The Facebook Live is called Soul versus Ego, and it really talks about how we can tell, what's ego and what is soul. And I think that will help in this case. Dun, dun, dun. So that's what. So, getting back to the best way, whether you're in this conversation about ego, within your conversation about what's best for you in your life, is to come here, to employ some kind of program. Rhythmia is one of the best I know. If you don't choose Rhythmia, choose something else, a breathwork program or some kind of deep spiritual meditative program that's going to help you dive into these things and start to shake up your old belief system and get to what's new. So concluding here, this one's maybe a little bit shorter for me today. If you got any other questions, I can answer them. But, what if you tried to live your beliefs on a daily basis? Really getting clear with them and then really striving to enact them in your daily life. I believe it would show you pretty quickly what's working and what's not. And by showing you what's working and what's not, you have a more immediate tack to get back on the right path. So again, I implore you to bring out your belief systems, start trying them out, start testing them out. And again, I'm not saying any beliefs are any better than the others, but some beliefs are going to be better for you than others. But the only way you know that is you pull them out of the closet, dust them off, start working them scientifically. Say, do they work in all situations? And if they don't, why not? Introspecting why, studying as to how maybe what beliefs are better that you could replace things with, and continuing to do this scientific inquiry until you get to something that really works for you. The ultimate way you know it's working for you, are you happy? Are you deeply content inside? And I don't mean just temporary happiness, like you drink a beer and like, woohoo, now you're feeling good. That's a happiness that's short-lived and then usually followed by a period of unhappiness, like the hangover, or the liver failure after years of doing that. So really looking at what's bringing you happiness, what's bringing deep contentment into your life. And this is a real sign that that thing is good for you. So you bring your beliefs to the surface, you work your program, you make your adjustments, correct what's working, keep on with what's working, correct what's not working, and the end result is a happy and satisfied life. So with that, let's just see if Deborah says, I'd love to be there soon. We want to have you here, Deborah, so get on down. Penny just got home from Rhythmia this week, most transformational week ever with my mom, sis, and niece. Beautiful, Penny. So I wasn't here to be with you. Chet, how much does it cost for an all-around trip to Rhythmia? That you will, depends on what kind of room you get. I'm going to say around $4,000 is sort of the median area. So you can go up from there. You can get a little cheaper from there. But as you can see through his comments, well worth every penny spent for most people here. And like I said, where else can you spend $4,000 and be 94% guaranteed that you're going to get what you came for? All right, big heart to you, Celeste, and Jordan. I'm not fully happy. Depression comes hard at times. So again, this is the perfect place to be to start testing out your beliefs. See where your beliefs are supporting your happiness and where they're not. And start looking into, studying other belief systems, studying other ways people are keeping themselves happy, getting themselves out of depression. Rhythmia is an amazing place for that. So, I'd encourage you to explore that further, Jordan. Shauna, unless you're Canadian. What does that mean, Shauna? That all this applies unless you're Canadian because you're at the highest on the totem pole? I'll accept that since I'm half Canadian. Deborah, I've already calculated both room types. All right, again, cross communication there. And John Scott, working out my next visit with the lottery. Yep, the lottery may be how you get here. And we do have a Rhythmia lottery. You can apply for every month. It's where you can win a free vacation here. So feel free. Shauna saying the price. So yeah, the price is calculated for all room types there. 4,000 is sort of the median range. Exchange rate though, yeah, right. You gotta worry about that in different country for Canadians. There we go. All right, that's the deal. Not that Canadians are higher elevated in their beliefs, but they're higher elevated in their exchange rate. Right now, I think it's 33% more. One US dollar is 133. Last I checked yesterday. Gord, if you truly want it, the universe will make it happen when it's supposed to. All right, good. Gord's replying to John there. Still worth every penny. Yes, that's what most people report when they leave here. You know, what is the value? What's the price for happiness in life? What is the price for gaining a belief system that really is supported in fact, you know, is supported in history of people getting what they came for? And Rhythmia really delivers, and that's why I'm proud to be part of it. You know, I'm a contractor here, so I'm not I'm not paid to support it, though I'm paid to be here. So I appreciate that people come because it keeps me in a job. But really, there's something special about this place, and listen to the people who've been here, because this is some of the scientific study. Person after person comes in here. They'll tell you too, they went through hell. Most people do go through a little bit of a dark night of the soul. Fortunately, it only lasts a night or two, versus the dark night of the soul being months or years in some cases with the old Christian saints and all that. Who wants to spend months or years in a dark night of the soul when you could get it done in the course of 2 or 3 nights? So with that, talking about the price of Rhythmia now. All right. I would say if you are planning to come, the price is some of the price. I think the plant medicine fee is on deck to rise as of, this is March 15th here, 2019. So in the next couple of months, that could be going up. If you're planning on booking, I would book as soon as you can to lock in whatever price is happening now, so you're immune to that in the future. But so that really, that's the end of my Facebook Live today. A little bit shorter one. Nothing wrong with that. Perhaps I'm a little verbose in some of the other ones, but I want to just commend you all for showing up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your questions, and put what I said to heart. Take it to heart. Put it into action and find out how you can modify your belief systems to bring you more happiness, ultimately more soul evolution, to bring you the ultimate state of liberation or oneness with all that is. With that, R. Christian Minson signing off. I'll see you next week.